Good morning. Welcome to my garden. Today we are going to talk about all things ground cover. And you might say, well, why do I need ground cover? Well, I think it's the icing on the cake of gardening. You don't have to have ground cover. So if you look back here, I've got higher plants and I've got medium plants and I also have low plants. So that's just the third layer that you can add to your garden. Now, if you just want to stop at mulch and rock, that's fine. You don't really need ground cover. But I just think it adds just such a nice look. Like I said, the icing on the cake. And I'm going to show you many kinds of ground cover that I have growing in my yard today. And I think I'm going to entice you to have some also. Now, the best thing about this video is I'm filming this in the spring. And right now, my ground cover is covered with flowers, with pinks and purples. Now, most of the year, ground cover is solid green or kind of a gray green. But right now in the spring, you get that extra bit of color, and it's just fabulous. So let me get in here and show you a closer look at what's growing in my garden. So the first ground cover I want to talk about is Ajuga. And this variety is called chocolate chip because it has green and kind of a brown leaf. Kind of like a chocolate chip, I guess. And in the spring, you get these really pretty purple spires all over it. And they're just such a gorgeous addition to the garden. So Ajuga creeps along, it spreads on its own, its roots just kind of meander down under the soil, and it is a low water user. It only gets about 2 inches tall, and in the spring, these flowers, maybe they're about 4 inches tall, and it can spread though. These are 2 different plants, so there was one here and one here, and they really have spread nicely. This is their 3rd year here, and I just love them, and it's all over my garden beds. They are deer resistant. They are not native, but they are adapted, so they will do great in the intense heat. These are in full sun. There's no shade anywhere around, and these have done just beautifully in this hot Central Texas climate. There are several other varieties of Ajuga. There's something called mahogany, and there's something black scallop, and burgundy glow. And you just need to get over to your nursery and see what varieties they carry, and you should plant some right away because March is the time to start planting things so those roots can really get going before the intense heat comes. Okay, another really good ground cover is a sedum. Now there's lots of different kinds of sedum, and this one is just, I think this is just a Mexican sedum, and it's kind of got little needles, but very soft. This only gets about 2 inches tall, but again, in the spring, you get these beautiful hot pink flowers. And it's a slow spreader. This one, I have several here, like there's one over there, and there's some in other parts of the garden. So this one is not at all aggressive, and this is adapted too, and it's really soft, and it kind of looks like a fern. So if you go to the nursery and go to the sedum area, you can look for these ground covers. Now this is creeping phlox ground cover, and it looks like a tall plant right now because it's when it gets the spring flowers, it all of a sudden shoots up to about, I think this is about a foot tall. But as soon as the flowers are spent, then I just trim it down back to about 3 to 4 inches, and that's where it stays all year long, 3 to 4 inches. It just pops up during the spring. And aren't these the most beautiful purple flowers? They are just gorgeous. And it stays like this March, April, and then in May when the temperatures start getting hot around here, the flowers kind of expire and it becomes solid green for the rest of the year. This is evergreen, and I may not have mentioned, but the Ajuga and the sedum, all of these are evergreen. So you have a constant area of green in your garden all year long. Unless, of course, we get an intense winter, and then some of these may brown out. But they are perennial, and so they will come back every single year. This phlox is deer resistant. It is drought tolerant, and it can take the full intense heat. Isn't this gorgeous? And there are many other types of phlox. This is a low phlox, but there are medium and high phlox. So I think phlox is a really great addition to any garden. I thought I would get back and just show you how attractive the walkway is here by my front door. Just look at that. It's just so purple and springy, and it's just a really nice greeting when anybody comes up to my front door. As I'm coming up to my cherry laurel garden, this is the fence right here. We have an iron fence that is separating the front yard from the backyard, and I have these cherry laurels here. There's 3 of them, and my intent is that these will really fill out and provide some much needed privacy into the backyard. And I have a nice little limestone brick around the whole thing, and so I thought I really would like some tough ground cover here. I don't water this area very much, and I don't care if there's something here that's fairly aggressive, if it kind of takes over. So the perfect ground cover for this area is frog fruit. Now this has just come out of dormancy, so it doesn't have a flower right now, but frog fruit grows on these long tendrils, and in the summer, it gets these little white flowers all over it. But I just think that it makes a nice little carpet all underneath where these cherry laurels are growing. And it does have a little white flower. Now, this is very drought tolerant. It spreads rapidly. Frog fruit is very aggressive. And you may not want frog fruit in a garden where you have other ground covers, because this one will take over any ground cover that's around it. It can be pulled out, but those roots really take hold underneath, and it does take a lot to get it completely pulled out. So this works here because I have sidewalk all around it. I have rock back there. And so I don't care if it's aggressive. And I just take the weed eater, and when it may go 5 inches tall, and I can just whack it down. So I really like frog fruit. You can even walk on this, and you really can't hurt it. I was going to show you this. Frog fruit is coming over the little fence into the backyard with these tendrils. And it's just fine because there's nothing here but a rocky area. And I can whack it with my weed eater if it gets out of control. But I wanted you to see just how aggressive it can be. Now another ground cover is horse herb. And this is, some people call this a weed. They pull it out. It's got these little heart-shaped leaves. I love horse herb, and you can find this in nurseries and plant it. And I know some people would call you crazy. Why are you planting weeds? But here in Central Texas, it's a really nice ground cover. I just leave this alone, and I don't mind if it, kind of comes in here. I have never planted this. I guess the birds bring the seeds in, and it is somewhat aggressive. It's definitely drought tolerant and can take the full sun. So that's horse herb. And it has little yellow flowers on it in the summertime. One of my favorite ground covers is Dichondra Grass, and some people call it ponyfoot. This has a silver gray color, and if you get in close here, you can see it does kind of look like a pony footprint or a pony foot. But Dichondra Grass is a wonderful ground cover. It's drought tolerant. It can take the full intense sun, and it's just really great. You don't want to walk on this. It's not that tough, but it is deer resistant, and it spreads. It's an aggressive spreader, and I just put in a few, and over the years, it has just spread all around my garden. So this Dichondra grass has just come out of dormancy, and so it is not very full right now. During the winter time, it kind of got hit by some of the freezes we had, and so it died back a bit. But it's coming back, and in another month, it will be a full carpet here. So I like that silvery gray color. I think that's a really nice backdrop to some of the green things growing here. So this is an interesting plant here in my shade garden. This just appears every year on its own. I've never planted it. This is Gallum or Sticky Willie because they stick to your clothes very easily. The kids have fun picking them off and sticking them to each other. They are edible if you wanted to eat them. And they're just a nice little ground cover that's just naturally occurs. I never do pull these because I think they add to the layers of my garden. They are not super aggressive. They just kind of are here, and I just love them, and I leave them alone. Gallium. And they usually stay in my dry shade beds. So I was going to show you, this is a sloping part of my garden. I'm in the backyard now, and you can see that I have ponyfoot, the silvery plant, and I have frog fruit. And let me get a little closer. And they are fighting for space here. So we have the frog fruit and the ponyfoot. So it's seeming to kind of play nice together. We'll see who wins. I really don't care, but I do like that both of these here, they're kind of making a thatch or a weave to keep my mulch down, because this is a slope, and every time it rains, you know, everything just kind of wants to wash down. So that's another important reason to have some ground cover that can kind of keep your soil in place so you don't lose that during rains. Now you can see here, this is the very edge, and none of the ground covers have really taken hold here yet. And I had a lot of mulch here, and it's just all gone now. So I really am going to make a better effort this year to put more mulch and ground cover in this area, because that just doesn't look good. See how it's just naked here, and then right next door we've got full ground cover. So we'll keep working on this area. But you can see whenever you have a slope, it is difficult to keep that soil and your mulch there, and your dogs just walk on everything. Another great ground cover is Asiatic Jasmine. And here is the green variety, and it just creeps along. This is probably in your grandmother's gardens. It's been around forever. It takes the full sun, and it is a really nice addition. Holds back keeps the moisture in, keeps the mulch in place. And I have it right in front of my abelia plants. So we have the taller layer and then the very low layer. Another great ground cover is Purple Heart, or it's also called wandering Jew, and here it is over in my neighbor's yard, and it is very drought tolerant. It can handle full sun. It is fairly aggressive at spreading, but it's very easy to pull out, and it just gives a garden a lovely purple pop of color. It also comes in a green, a dark green color, and I really like how its growth pattern is. It's got these little shoots that come in from the center, and then of course it also travels by root. So Purple Heart is a really nice ground cover that you can intersperse amongst other green plants. So I had a question for everyone out there. If you have been successful with a particular ground cover here in the Central Texas area that can handle our extreme heat and our drought conditions and maybe is evergreen, why don't you put it in the comments below and share that with the rest of us? I'm always looking for new and interesting ground cover that I haven't discovered yet. So that would be wonderful. Thank you so much for joining and watching my channel today. I really appreciate you, and I love to read your comments below. I read each and every comment, and I am happy to respond with any helpful tips that I can offer. So I hope you get a chance to get in your garden today. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.